America has a crisis on several levels. One is we have a reputation crisis around the world. Much of the world sees us as oppressors and evil and all the things that really America is not, but our image seems to be that way. Some instances, yeah, we do many wrong things, but we're not as evil as the world seems to think we are. Number two, we've had a constitutional crisis for years in this country over what does the Constitution mean? Who does it apply to? Civil libertarians are often up in arms about things like the U.S. Patriot Act and all the surveillance and listening on phone calls by the government, domestic phone calls of Americans. But a really major crisis that we're going through right now is one over the writ of habeas corpus, which, unlike the Bill of Rights, which were amendments to the Constitution, the writ of habeas corpus was so important that our founding fathers put it in the Constitution. People like Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, all were so emphatic about how important the writ of habeas corpus is. It's a Latin word meaning bring forth the body. And what it really requires is if you're being held in a jail or prison somewhere and you haven't been charged, you have a right to go before a neutral judge and say, why am I being held? What is the evidence against me? It doesn't say you will go free, but it gives you a chance, it gives a judge a chance to hear what's the case against you and is there any evidence? Because you could hold, and this is what happened to the founding fathers. They were labeled enemy combatants by the British. They were held in jails and they couldn't get out. They couldn't get before a neutral judge. They said, we're going to have this kind of protection in our Constitution. What's important in the Constitution with the writ of habeas corpus is it says very clearly that the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless there's a rebellion or there's a threat to public safety. Well, there's no rebellion, obviously. So are these approximately 400 people down in Guantanamo, we don't even know if they're guilty or not, are they really a threat to public safety? Obviously not. So the question is, should we suspend the writ of habeas corpus, which has only been suspended several times in our history. Once during the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln, he was greatly criticized for that. But at least he had a more compelling reason. There was a war going on and Washington was about ready to be invaded by Confederate troops. Here we have 400 detainees in chains from foot to toe. Are they a threat to public safety? Obviously not. So what should we do? We can't forget that these people are human beings and they should be treated like human beings. So we should give them a fair hearing. We're not saying, and I don't think anybody, even civil libertarians are not saying, the most rabid civil libertarians are not saying, let these people go. Just give them a hearing. They're people. And as we're finding out, many of them are not guilty. And so give them a hearing. And the other thing that we have to really be careful about is that our government does throw forth the rhetoric that we're for freedom and democracy. We're going around the world spreading democracy. Well, you can't spread democracy around the world if you don't practice it at home. And how do you practice it at home? Well, we give all human beings, if they're under our custody by our troops, a right to a hearing to see if they're guilty. And that way, I think America can set the standard for the world.